What's up, everyone? Welcome to Level 7. It is time for a very special episode of the Agents of Fandom podcast. I'm your host, TJ Zwarich. Joining me today, I got Sean Mott with the Agents of Fandom, of course, Metalcore Nerds, my co-host for the Beyond Invincible show. And we are talking to a couple of legends making their return to the Agents of Fandom podcast, Taylor and Andy, the Newton brothers. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys.
Thanks for having us. Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks for having us on again.
Very excited to talk to you about Daredevil Born Again, which is now out streaming on Disney Plus, the first 2 episodes, which you guys, of course, scored and made the brand new intro to. And I got to say, this show is incredible. The new intro is incredible. Before we even ask any questions, congratulations.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Really, really appreciate it.
It was a long. It feels like it was years.
First,
yeah, it was definitely a journey, but in all the good ways.
Yeah.
First question I want to throw to you guys is that actually, you know what? I'm gonna put the questions on the back burner for a little bit because I thought of this before the show and I thought it might be fun. We always do this thing called Whatcha Watchin when we're here on our podcast, where we just dive into, we're always on Tuesdays, we cover Daredevil. On Thursdays, we cover Invincible. On Fridays, we cover Severance. But we want to know, what our guests are watching in their own time for their own enjoyment. So I know you guys have been crazy busy, but Taylor, I'll throw it to you first. You've been watching any TV or movies lately in your own time you've been enjoying?
Woo! I was late to jump on Penguin. So I've been watching that. Enjoying that, and then there's a show called, is it 1927? Is that what they came out with a new
23?
1923. That's what it is.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I put off on the back burner for a while. So now I'm just catching up.
Andy, how about you?
I've got 2 things. One, I'm rewatching season 1 of Andor in anticipation for this next season. Super pumped for that. And then I also just started this weekend. I took down the original Superman 1 and 2, just to sort of little homework, So I'll probably do Superman 3 this upcoming weekend. It's interesting to go back. I haven't seen either of those originals in a long time. So it's interesting, but really excited about Andor. So I've just been catching up and watching. It's actually my 3rd time watching season 1. So I'm excited for that.
Truly an incredible season of television. I can't wait for season 2. We're also going to have some fun interviews for that one coming up. So stay tuned. Subscribe to the Agents of Fandom on YouTube. Make sure you smash that like button. First few questions I want to throw at you guys are from the wonderful Ryan Cortero here at Agents of Fandom, who joined us last time we got a chance to talk. And he just threw some amazing questions at me. And so I wanted to start off with those ones. It's for both of you. The first one is that religion is a core component of Matt Murdock's character, and Matt has, a little bit of a fall from grace in these first 2 episodes, a little bit of a crisis of faith after what happens with Bullseye. Could you guys describe your process incorporating organ sounds and choir vocals into the opening theme and how it reflects Matt's journey as a hero and specifically a man of faith struggling with that faith?
Yeah, that's Taylor. You want to go? You want me to jump in?
Sure. Yeah. So the opening specifically, the very beginning is like this humming, and that is the actual theme for Matt Murdock. So you hear it later in the show, but we already have a wonderful theme from John. So we really wanted to just define a theme for Matt, and it's sort of the internal struggle within us. Is he helping or is he making things worse? What's happening is reflecting sort of how he's feeling in different episodes. So we sort of wrote that theme for that. And then the music sort of in between is sort of the perspective and the sort of the sonic abilities is what is supposed to be sort of defining We had like bouncing instrumentation and pitching a little bit, and then it goes into the Daredevil theme. So I think that was the intention behind the opening and the main title. And then there's tons of like, as far as later in the show, I'll let Andy elaborate from there. But we have some hymns and some other pieces.
Yeah, on the religious aspect of it, obviously that's such a core feature to who Matt Murdock is, and I spent my entire, I mean, from kindergarten till I graduated from my undergrad in Catholic school, playing. I never played organ actually for any of the church services, but I was a musical director. I played piano. I was in choirs. I was deep into that and really enjoyed it. It's actually what kind of kept me in religion in the years when it's sort of you get distracted by life and all the things that come at you when you're a teenager. I used to actually enjoy going on Wednesday and Thursday nights to practice and play with a group of people, and then play on Sunday. And it's interesting how Matt's whole experience is, as you grow up, you don't really broadcast like what your sort of beliefs are. I mean, not necessarily. You kind of like, it just becomes who you are, I think, for a lot of people. And I feel like that's the case with Matt. And I think the echoes of his upbringing are what we wanted to sort of achieve with organ and choir. And as Taylor mentioned, like we even wrote a hymn from scratch that I think is in episode 3.
We have a couple, and one of them's in Latin too. It's like,
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we have one in Latin. Anyway, so that kind of just sort of helps. And there's even like, as we got into this, we were like, what would Paisano's theme sound like if it was just all organ? I don't think that exists in the show. I don't think we landed on that, but that was sort of one of the explorations we leaned into, was like, let's just go full on like organ Daredevil intro to see what works. And then obviously you hear throughout the series, you'll hear solo vocals as well as choir, sort of in reference to when you're at church and you'll have like a cantor up there who will sort of like lead you through various things. Anyway, so that's probably more info than you wanted, but we got deep into all of that, obviously.
That's literally one of my favorite things of talking with you guys, is you have such insightful long answers, and I'm thankful that you allow us a long amount of time for an interview so we can actually dive into these things and get the full answers. I absolutely love it.
Oh no, thank you for having us. Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of I think this project, all projects require like a lot of homework, before we even write music. And I think that that's really helpful, so that when we do start writing music, we can sort of subscribe to the "if you think you stink" motto, which I really love, which I think is, at a certain point you need to like pencils down on the history lessons of it all and just go for, creating what you're going to attempt to create. So there was a lot of that on this one, obviously.
Yeah, I was gonna say the score in Daredevil Born specifically feels like a character in itself. Is that something you guys discussed with the showrunners, or did you just feel like it's what the score needed to be for the series?
Yeah, we felt it was a little bit of both. We wrote these long sketches that were basically based off of the scripts and sort of these characters and the comics, and also the old Netflix shows, in terms of like what was used and as that character. Did he have a theme, or did he not? And we sort of just that was sort of the base for where we wanted to go. And then from there we sort of wrote new themes, and obviously we continued Daredevil theme, but it was very intentional and in the approach of it, in finding like what's the theme going to be for Bullseye, what's the theme going to be for Muse. Where can we let the whole theme play, or is it just a hint of it? Like those kind of things where we kind of jumped into early on.
Yeah, we did discuss with the team the idea of what is the sound of the city, and that sort of became some of the elements we have. We do have sort of a thematic element that runs throughout the series that is sort of the theme of the city that kind of carries you from one story to another. Um, and as opposed to it being like a specific, like, this is what the city sounds like sort of vibe, we just sort of assigned an actual motif that had been using. It had been kind of working throughout in various places, but not necessarily for a character. And we kind of realized at a certain point, like, oh, it was telling us like this is the theme of the city. And that sort of runs throughout. So it's nice to hear that it feels like the score has a bit of a character to it.
Solo saxophone. Just
Hey, that's what I played in
It
band.
adds to this.
there you go.
Yeah.
That was my instrument of choice growing up. Your
Man.
first foray into Marvel Studios was with X-Men 97. Did you get to pull any lessons from X-Men 97 into this, or was it a brand new project just like anything else?
It was very much a brand new project. I think when you're working with Marvel, the main goal is for it to be as best as it can be. I know that they're really big on trying to honor the property and the IP and making something that the fans will enjoy and love. So I think that same idea with X-Men was approached with Daredevil, but in terms of everything else, it was very much different. It's a different team, different approach.
Yeah, even a different approach to like the general scoring idea. Like X-Men 97 is just like, put your foot on the gas and like stand on the accelerator until the end, with moments of reprieve here and there. This was almost the opposite. It was like a big sort of task that Taylor and I would often do would be to strip down elements, like write a piece of music and then mute 80% of the tracks. And we actually even had our mixer, Jonathan Wales, prepare mixes so that as they were on the dub stage, they could remove elements as they needed to help make space, because it's really important to make space in this show and not get in the way of the story and the characters. But that being said, there are moments where you do need, the music to bolster things. So we didn't want to sit back. We would sort of err on like, let's go too much and then pull back. In some cases, just eliminate cues entirely that we had written. But I think we do that. We do that a lot. We do that with Mike Flanagan a lot. We'll overwrite at first just to sort of see what's working and what's not, and then just start paring things down. And it usually it's a pretty aggressive paring down, which I think goes to sort of helping accentuate what's on screen and not get in the way.
Awesome,
Yeah,
Sean.
I mean, it works for sure.
Awesome.
Yeah, it adds to like especially in these first two episodes, you see like the tension. It's like the first episode starts off very intense, but as far as the second episode, there's this like rising tide that's coming up and just explodes at the end. Speaking of kind of from X-Men to this, when I talked to you guys about kind of tackling the X-Men theme, you talked about how you went through pretty much a million renditions of that to find the perfect version of it that you end up using. Was that the same for this theme as well? Especially when there's already an iconic theme for Daredevil already out there. Was it a similar process where there was like a million different versions and like almost genre types of this theme before you settled on this one?
There was a lot before it even got to the creatives. So we went through a lot. And there was a lot of discussion amongst all of us and with the executives and the showrunner and us on like what it should be, what they wanted to do. And then I think that informed us to sort of change or refine. And that's kind of where we started with that. But yeah, there was lots of renditions, as Andy was saying, a lot of choral stuff, a lot of organ. We really wanted to bring in sort of his religious elements. Have you guys seen all 1 through 9?
So I'm an idiot, and because I'm an idiot, I got the first 2 episodes for my interviews. I got to interview the showrunner Dario Scartapan and executive producer Sana Amanat. It was awesome. Yeah. And I thought when they send out the screener requests, well, it's probably just going to be the same two from interviews, and so I'm not gonna fill it out. We got our wonderful Garrett Blaney writing the review. I don't need to fill out the screener request. And then I find out that it's all 9, and I just felt so stupid that I could have watched the entirety of the season. But no, at least now I just, man of the people, get to watch every week when it comes out.
Yeah, no, I think the only reason I ask is because I feel like it really sets up what, the impetus of why he does what he does in 1 and 2, and like what happens throughout the series. It really sort of makes a lot of sense, and that's why I asked if you'd seen that. Anyways, I think I was getting off subject. What were you saying, Sean? You were saying.
Oh no, it was just mainly I was just wondering if there was 100 different versions, which it seems like there was. Was there like I remember you were talking about X-Men 97, like you talked about how there was an orchestral version, how there was like a synthwave version. Is there any ones in particular that you remember that didn't quite work but are just like cool to think about?
Yeah, we definitely have some cool stuff that we really love that we ended up using. Because sort of
the Oregon one was pretty wild. That was pretty it just didn't work. It felt too on the nose, but it was pretty bombastic.
Yeah, I think overall, like we were really hoping and pushing that they would at least, before we got too much into ideas, that they really wanted to use the original theme, because I feel like as a fan, that's what you think of as Daredevil. So if you remove that entirely, it changes sort of the show and what you think of it as. And since it's the same characters and it's kind of an expansion of the original show, we really were thinking, like, as a fan, like, hey, it makes sense to use John's theme and sort of expand on it, or orchestrate it a little differently, and it also, the meaning of the show has changed dramatically too. So we wanted to honor the old, but at the same time, bring in new ideas. So that was kind of where we ended up.
When speaking of, the creatives for the show and Sana Amanat, she has teased that the scenes with Muse in this series are just like the most terrifying scenes that like we've maybe seen in the MCU. What was it like tapping back into your horror roots for developing, some score around Muse and setting the stage for those scenes?
That was really fun. I mean, just to see those visuals, it's a treat. We're excited for you guys to see that, because they really teed up some darkness with that, and it gets us pretty excited, obviously, because we really love sort of living in that world. And Muse was no exception. I mean, I think it's like there's all kinds of Taylor, there's bells, there's like weird whispering voices. We've got all kinds of crazy stuff happening.
Yeah, I think, I don't know if I should be proud of it, but I love the dark characters. I love the the Doctor Doom, I love the Magneto. I love these conflicted dark characters, and boy, oh boy, is Muse conflicted. So, he's definitely a very fun character to play with. So I personally was super pumped and excited, and I love how dark it gets. And I don't want to say too much about what it reminds me of in terms of that tone, but I was a little surprised, some of the choices of direction of where this went. I was really excited, and I'm so glad that Sana brought that up, because it was a fun one. But yes, in terms of music, we used a bunch of creepy stuff, and there's a very sort of simple motif that plays for him that keeps happening throughout the show, and sort of lets you know that he's sort of around in some form. So that was fun.
One of my favorite parts one of my favorite aspects of a score that I saw in The Batman by Michael Giacchino was when Batman's a hero, but in reality, you got to mix in the fact that these villains, these criminals, are terrified of him. It's not just somebody coming in to save people. It's somebody coming in to beat the crap out of the villains they're facing. We get a little bit of that with Matt. We get a whole lot of that with Frank Castle, the Punisher. What was it like composing themes that, you got to elicit that this is a hero, but at the same time, this is somebody that the villains are terrified of from?
I mean, that's the $1 million question that you kind of like, you really tapped into something that we spent a lot of time working on, right? Because you have these scenes where like these characters are conflicted. They're all conflicted, right? They want to have a life of sincerity and honesty and true relationships and goodness, but they're constantly conflicted by I mean, in Frank's case, like the rage that he holds, right? And it's a rage that a lot of these superheroes hold for one reason or another, and I think that's what's interesting about what's happening in this season with Matt, or Daredevil together. I mean, it's interesting to like talk about them as different people sort of in this context, because Matt is sort of now feeling the things that Frank has dealt with for a long time. And it's that confliction of like, what, the rage you feel for righteousness, and the rage you feel for things not being set right, and wanting to right those wrongs. But then at what point are you, I mean, it gets into such a like deep philosophical conversation, right? Like it's the college runner Prefontaine, when he was like dealt with all the Olympic committee stuff and was just like, you guys are not God. Like who made you guys God to decide? And I feel like that's the question, whether you believe in God or not, like it becomes like very relevant. Like who is the one to decide who is giving justice, right? The Dexter of it all. It just gets into like such an interesting place.
I love how in the end of episode 2, where he's like it's almost like he's an alcoholic that doesn't want to take a sip. You know what I mean? And it's that, and they're just like pouring alcohol over the situation, and it just lights him up, and he doesn't want to do it. I thought Charlie did such a fantastic job in that sequence. It was such a great scene. But yeah, boy, oh boy.
Yeah, that was actually
so much, because you can't, it's up for interpretation whether Matt is sitting there being like, no, you don't want to do this, don't do this. You don't know if he's talking to the guys who are about to pull the gun on him, or himself, of like, don't relapse, you've been doing so good, don't do it. And then bam, arm snaps.
Exactly. Yeah.
And Taylor, that's a great reminder. Was it Dario that said that to us? Like the analogy of like he's almost like an alcoholic who needs, like, he's trying to figure out if and it was such a good analogy. That's exactly sort of what he's experiencing.
Yeah. Relapse at being the badass superhero.
So when I last talked to you guys, I kind of was talking to you guys about like holy grail projects. And Taylor, you mentioned the 2 things you wanted to work with Marvel. The first one you said was Daredevil. You guys, that happened. You did Daredevil. The thing after that, you said X-Men live action movie. Is X-Men next?
Oh, I mean, I would love to do X-Men live action, obviously. X-Men holds a special place in my heart, but we'll see. Marvel also is very quiet about stuff, but we would love to be a part of stuff. I mean, those guys, when you work with people who really care to try to make it the best it can be, it feels like they just are there to support you and to push it. So it's a great team to be a part of. We're very, very lucky, and it's exciting to sort of play in the tapestry of the things that we were kids, and to bring. I mean, Daredevil is incredibly grounded. The Punisher is incredibly grounded. It's like so much fun to play with these characters, and especially this season, there's a lot of they're in bad shape. So as doing music and score for that is so much fun, because it's just the situation of what's occurring on screen.
speaking of, superhero projects, your friend and colleague Mike Flanagan, he is making his foray to the DC universe with Clayface. You have any interest in following him there for that one, or any other particular DC projects you have your eyes on?
I'll let you answer that, Andy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Mike's gonna be, and maybe he's already written it. I don't know for sure. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think he's written Clayface. Um, I don't know that he's gonna direct it. So I'm not sure. We'll kind of we'll follow his lead on that front. I mean, it'd be super exciting to, yeah, that would be really exciting to work on. But again, we'll kind of follow Flanagan's lead on that one. And yeah, but I mean, there's so many fun projects like right now. It feels like a really fun time right now. There's a lot of great properties coming out. There's a lot like the Berserker property, like that's going to be super interesting. Like talk about rage, like holy crap, like that the rage in that character is like really intense.
Swamp Thing.
And yeah.
Yeah.
Who would be the if Daredevil in the eventual X-Men movie is like holy grail for Marvel project, what would it be for a DC one?
Oh man, I think for us, we love so many different properties. It really comes down to what's interesting to do with the characters. I mean, you could do so much great stuff with Spider-Man, Superman. There's so many great things you could do. So it really depends on the story, and so we've been very fortunate enough to work on things that have really compelling stories, and I think that would be the key. We were lucky to be like, cool, we want this, but it doesn't really always work like that. But there's a lot of good stuff happening right now, and I think the things that interest me personally the most are, again, the more anti-heroes, the more people on the outskirts who aren't your hero, that they're sort of the villain and the hero, or they're conflicted, or they're switching sides back and forth, because they're the most interesting. And I think as a viewer, I relate more to that, in terms of like, they're not perfect, they're very flawed. And it's exciting musically to write with that kind of stuff, because it's not just out of the bag, yay, it's everything's screwed, and they have to come out of this hole that they've sort of buried themselves in, and that to me is fun to play with.
Yeah, Magneto's line from X-Men 97 that I think really resonates really strongly with me was his whole please don't, well, it's something to the extent of, please don't make me let you down, right? Like the whole idea of like, I'm giving you a chance here, but please don't make me like do what I feel like I actually need to do. And it's so funny like how that arc works in season 1 of X-Men 97, right? We see all of the reasons why had he just like annihilated everyone in episode, like, what is it, 2? Like they wouldn't have gone through so many of those things, right? But he wanted to give humanity a chance. And I think, to Taylor's point, like that's really interesting to explore, especially musically. You know what I mean? Like these stories, in terms of like being able to work on these stories musically, is such a like dream for us, because it's like, it's what music is, right? It's like you need the attention. There's a Ryuichi Sakamoto who passed away recently, an incredible composer and human being. He bought a piano that was destroyed in the tsunami in Japan many years ago, and someone asked him why he was paying a whole bunch of money for a piano that was broken from the tsunami. It was wrecked, and he wanted to buy the wreck of it. And he said that he bought it because the piano had gotten closer to its original form, in that the tension had been broken from it, and that humans like put the tension into the piano. They require the piano to have this tension, to make the noise that it makes. But in the breaking of the piano, it lost the tension that humans had set upon it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like what a wild, like and it sounds heady, but it's not. I feel like that's so interesting, right? That's what we do every day in our lives. Like, we're constantly like having sort of a tug of war. And anyway, so it's nice that these stories allow us to sort of get into the tension of it all with the music and the tension and the release of it.
I'm happy you brought up Magneto a few times because at the end we do have a little game we're gonna play. Then he is one of the characters involved. As a little spoiler alert, but this was Sean's idea, and I'm really looking forward to diving into this one with you guys because it's gonna be a lot of fun. Before we do, you brought up X-Men '97? How are things progressing with the score of X-Men '97 season 2?
Awesome. Yeah, it's great. There's obviously new characters and new adventures and things unfolding. But yeah, it's we can't say anything about it, but it's very exciting.
Yeah, we're deep into it right now. We're deep into it, so it's a lot of fun. We're excited. It's gonna be a fun season.
Love it.
Super excited to see it. Love season 1 so much. I wanted to pivot back to Mike Flanagan for a second. You guys reunited with him for The Life of Chuck. It's coming out this summer. I know it's already been at TIFF and some people have seen it and everything like that. A new poster came out today.
Oh yeah.
How did it feel to collaborate with him back on the big screen again?
I mean, working with Mike is always a dream. I mean, the guy is such a talent at what he does. And he's such a visionary. And this particular movie, I would say, I have a lot of personal connection to it, and just what it's about, and like family and stuff. And I don't get too much away, but yeah, it's a very close film to me personally, and super proud to be a part of it and sort of what this film means. So I'm very excited for people to see it.
Yeah, this is a really special one. And I mean, every project, I feel like every time we do a new project with Mike, it feels like the best project we've worked on with him. But this really lands in a really special way because it's so much different from everything else we've worked on with him. So it's a drama, and it's just we're really excited for everyone to see this one.
Yeah, the excitement of it and knowing that Mike like handpicked it and self-funded it and everything got me to read the short story. I mean, I read the whole novella that had all the short stories in it, but after reading that short story, I was like, this is going to be something insanely special. But you guys kind of got your wish. You guys talked about wanting to do sci-fi. You kind of got to do sci-fi a little bit. It's not hard sci-fi, but there's sci-fi elements.
Yeah.
I mean, I will just tell you this, that I mean, I was told this, I don't know this as a fact, but apparently Stephen King doesn't really go to premieres. He doesn't really go to these, gatherings of these films when they get released in the screening, sort of, to speak. And Stephen was there. He was at TIFF and he was watching it. And it was sort of surreal seeing Mark Hamill, Stephen King, and like all these fantastic, beautiful actors. And then sort of just supporting Mike up there, who gave this incredible speech about what the film meant to him. And it's just, when you see it, you know what I mean in terms of, if you've read the short story, you have at least some idea. But I think this is a very special project.
Yeah, and in that sort of speech that Mike gave before the film played at the Toronto Film Festival, in this gorgeous theater, he said something that I think we all know, but I don't think we think about as much as we should. I wish I could just have like a loop of him saying this on a screen all day. But he just mentioned hey, this is the first and last time we will all be in this room together watching this film together. Like, life has these unique moments that happen, right? And it's like they happen and it's over. I mean, this moment where the four of us are able to take some time out of our days and just nerd out and talk about fun things, right? It's how lucky are we to get to do this? This is like a dream for all of us, and I think it's such a nice sentiment to recognize throughout the day, even if it's a flat tire on the freeway in the middle of the pouring rain. It's yeah, it sucks, you know, and you're gonna get wet. There's all sorts of complications, but there's such a beauty to like the time that we're all here and alive together, you know, like who knows if there's an afterlife or not or whatever, but it'd be awesome to like if we were all like hanging out someplace like later after we've all like left this earth, like to be like, oh yeah, remember that week we were hanging out chatting about Daredevil and Magneto, like wow, like how crazy, look at the world now, you know, like anyway, it's just a really nice sentiment that he said to everyone, like just before he said, you know, so please sit back and enjoy this film. So anyway, real long way to say, really excited for everybody to see this film that he made.
Yeah, I the like hardcore band I play in, every time before we play our last song, our singer goes on about no matter how many times we step on the stage, how many times you're in the crowd, this moment will never happen again. This is the only time it'll ever happen. And like the last lines of our last song are, these are the moments that we live for. So like anything like that like hits me like a brick wall. Like it's just like, oh, like I get like you explaining that made me emotional. That's honestly. So it just made me even more excited for the movie than I already was. Now that you're in the Marvel you're in the Disney family, have you bugged anyone at Marvel about scoring an Alien movie or Alien project? They're on TV now. Yeah.
Maybe we could score an Alien movie in Marvel. You know, yeah. Maybe some of these guys are aliens. Technically, Superman's an alien, so you know maybe we can figure out something. And, that would be fun though. Yeah, there's a lot of cool things going on. Definitely.
Yeah. I wish. Yeah, I don't want to jinx it, but there is a pretty awesome project that
Please don't jinx it.
Couple weeks. Yeah, I won't. A couple weeks ago, I brought up to somebody, but yeah, I can't really. Yeah, I can't. That's really dumb to even just say that, but yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Hey, it kept everything under wraps and allowed us to put positive vibes into the universe to help manifest it. We made it happen with Daredevil, and so we're going to run it back with these ones. We don't need to know details. We just got to know. Put the positive vibes out there. Sean, do you got anything else before we switch into game mode?
Yes. Now that Mike Flanagan is tackling things like The Exorcist and The Dark Tower, I know he signed that big deal with Prime Video and everything like that. Can we expect you guys to score those as well?
I never expect anything because you know, but obviously we would love to work with Mike again. He's like family. You know, he knows we're good friends. He knows my history. He knows Andy's history. It's more than just music. So working with him would be amazing. But we never assume that we'll work on anything. We just hope that. It's always, and every time you work on a project too with people you've worked with before, you always want to like outdo yourself, work harder. So there's that sort of internal thing between Andy and I that we're like, you know, it's always an excitement and then a bit of, oh my gosh, you know, we have to like figure this out quickly and excitement. But yeah, Mike's a great guy to work with.
All right, it's game time. I've been excited about this one for a while. You guys are nerds like us. You love this stuff, love the comic book characters, and you're also musical composers and musical geniuses, I would even dare to say. So we want to know whether, you know, it's Spotify, Apple Music, whatever source these comic book characters would be using to get their daily dose of music, what would be on their playlist? You know, we know from watching the MCU, Tony Stark loves his AC/DC. He's going to be, that's what he is listening to almost all the time as he's working. And so we put together a list of characters. We want to know, who do you think they would be listening to? Like on their iPhone in the music section, or on their Samsung, they're looking at Spotify, whatever phone they're using. What is on their playlist? What are their go-tos? So starting off, we'll love to hear from each of you. Matt Murdock, what is on his playlist?
Radiohead.
Oh, I think there's a new artist called Eka Vandal. I think he's listening to Eka Vandal.
Yeah, and I feel like there would also be some old school something in there, some nostalgic old school something. because he's a sentimental guy. So, you know, I'm not sure what that, not Frank Sinatra, but just something that's like, you know, old school, that maybe he wouldn't want anyone to hear it, but he's just playing it in his apartment, you know? I don't know what that would be. The Platters, I don't know.
Oh,
Like something he
yeah,
listened to with
that's
his
actually a good
dad or
call.
something.
Something old school.
Yeah,
Some
Yeah.
his dad liked for sure.
yeah.
I mean, Wilson Fisk is probably not going to like anything that his dad liked. What's on Wilson Fisk's playlist?
It's gonna be like
Oh,
it's probably gonna be like Ligeti or like Beethoven, and then like Motorhead or something.
yeah. What would he be listening to? I'm picturing.
Well,
I feel like, yeah.
Well, the question is, what is Kingpin listening to, and what is Fisk listening to? That's more the appropriate question.
I think Fisk is listening to like Puccini, trying to like be
Yes.
like trying to be the elevated. Yes, yeah.
Butterfly or something. Yeah.
Trying to be elevated, trying to elevate himself. Yeah, but I don't know that that's what he really wants to listen to, is probably the interesting thing,
Well,
right?
that's what I say. He's listening to like, you know, old Metallica when he's Fisk, like in the basements or something. He's just listening to like One or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah. What do you guys think? What do you think he's listening to?
I can't
After you
help
said
but
the
just
Motorhead
picture-
thing, I'm just picturing. I'm just picturing him like bench pressing in his prison, just Ace of Spades, just rocking as he's bench. That's all I'm thinking
Oh
of now.
yeah.
Or now Metallica.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's just like For Whom the Bell Tolls, as he's just cranking it out.
Yeah.
Like,
Totally.
that's all I can
Totally.
think of.
That Metallica song I like while I
Yeah.
bash this guy's head
Iron
in the
Maiden
car door.
song,
Oh,
Megadeth.
TJ, that's good. Wow, that's really good.
This one I think is fun because it could go a bunch of different ways. Who's Karen Page listening to?
Wow. I feel like she's listening to Joy Division. I feel like she's a music head. I feel like she's got like some like, I think she's got some I think she's good. I think she's like really, she could be a music supervisor. I feel like that's the job she should have like.
I feel like maybe she could listen to some Snow Patrol, Coldplay, also maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Karen absolutely seems like she'd be able to go toe to toe with Doctor Strange in like a record store and tell him like, no, this was from this year at this time, you know, like that.
Yeah.
That they seem like she seems like she'd be a music head.
It does.
Gordon Lightfoot. I bet she's a Gordon Lightfoot fan. I bet she's got like some crazy, like, you know, she probably could have had an alternate character. She could have been an alternate character in High Fidelity. That Cusack film, you know, like that could have been an interesting,
Couple more Daredevil characters to go, then we're gonna make the switch over to some other Marvel characters. But Foggy Nelson, our guy, R.I.P. What did Foggy Nelson listen to on his iPod?
I've had the lucky pleasure of actually meeting him. He's such a nice guy. So I'll make sure I do him right here. What's that band that has a song "Only You Know"? I walk along the empty back.
Oh yeah, Keen.
Keen. I feel like he would be listening to Keen. Yeah, some Keen.
Yeah.
I feel like he could be listening to that. But I also feel like he could surprise you and have some like old school stuff in him too. You know, there could be something old school that he listens to. I would also see him maybe sneaking in some Nirvana, like from the old one, you know, in the car by himself, old school Nirvana or something. That
Will Smells Like Teen Spirit as he's getting ready for like a big deposition.
Exactly.
I feel like he might have had a phase in high school with like some gangster rap. Like I feel like he is a character who could like straight up like recite like all the lyrics to some
You know, thinking about, he has that moment when he appears in the Luke Cage show where he does he's talking about like various history of rap music with Luke Cage. Actually, that's a good call.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got that in him for sure.
he can pull out the badass in him for sure.
All right, this one is a little tougher because I feel like the music is not going to match his personality. You know, the music is going to be an escape for him, and that's Frank Castle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
I think it's interesting that you bring up Frank Castle because I think that he has very much a broken side to him that hasn't been explored that much. And obviously he has the ass kicking side we all know. But that is a tough one. Yeah, I feel like it could be all kinds of things from like Tool to
Johnny Cash.
Yeah, to what's that that country artist you're friends with, Andy? You know, the guy who sings with a great, like, he's a great voice. I'm blanking on his name right now. Don't remember it, but yeah, Clay. No, not
the guy with the great voice.
that guy's the guy. Johnny Cash. I can see him.
I like the Johnny Cash call. I can see that one absolutely.
Johnny Cash.
Yeah.
We don't know anything about him, but what would Muse listen to?
Depeche Mode for sure.
I like that.
Yeah.
Synthwave, like maybe yeah, 9 Inch Nails, like early, like Pretty Hate Machine, like yeah. What's what the secret track on the album before Pretty Hate Machine, right after Pretty Hate Machine? Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know, you guys. I was about to start singing it, but I'm not.
All right.
Yeah.
Pivot to the X-Men, and then we'll let you guys get out of here because I know you are very, very busy with lots of stuff to do. How accurate is 2000s the X-Men? Is Cyclops listening to NSYNC, or what's on his playlist?
Poor Cyclops. Oh man, I'll let you, Andy, to answer that, Andy. That's.
I mean, yeah. What is Cyclops listening to? I mean, because I just go to Scott, and I'm like, what is Scott listening to, right? And then I don't know, where that I don't know that leads me to like, yeah. I don't know where that leads me.
I don't know it'll be anything complimentary. I don't know that, like, if I say Train or something.
I like that.
Or like Soul Asylum, or like, something like what's that band that Four Non-Blondes? Like, I don't know that I can.
That was pretty epic. Yeah, yeah. I liked Soul Asylum too. Yeah,
I love
that was
Soul
good.
Asylum.
Yeah, me too.
What about a guy who's been there for centuries, decades and centuries of music, Wolverine? What era stood out for Wolverine as like, this is my time, this is my jam?
He's like, I hate music.
yeah. I hate music unless it's I
don't know. He feels very like, again, like, I know AC/DC is reserved for Iron Man, but I feel like he's almost like, I could feel like him listening to oldies and then also like something super like heavy but old school, I guess.
Yeah, maybe late 90s or early 2000s Hole. Like he's like, oh,
I don't see him listening to Hole. Maybe like maybe after Gene's left or something.
Last but not least, one of the complex characters we've been talking about throughout the show. Who is Magneto listening to on his playlist?
I mean,
I can tell you right now that it's gonna be from classical origin.
Yeah, Mahler for sure.
Yeah, definitely Mahler. Maybe some Bach, but yeah, definitely Mahler.
Yeah, definitely Mahler. A lot of Mahler for Magneto. Yeah, I think that's a perfect like, and maybe even maybe a little bit of Rachmaninoff. I feel like Magneto's whole playlist might just be Mahler and Rachmaninoff.
Definitely no Debussy. No.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
something with suffering and pain. Sorry.
No, you go. Absolutely. I don't want to hold you guys too long because I know you got lots of stuff to do. So Sean, if you got any final thoughts, final questions, I want to throw it to you, and then I'll close this out.
For some reason, after you saying that Magneto should be shirtless playing a 7-string, I just selfishly wanted him to be listening to Gojira or something. Selfishly. I just see it. I don't know. I know. Like he somehow stumbles upon modern heavy music, and he saw the Olympics opening ceremony, and he's like, "That's it. That's my heavy music."
Oh man.
That's all I got. It was amazing talking to you guys again. Seriously.
Likewise, this is so fun. Yeah, we could do this all day. We could meet somewhere for lunch and have like a 3-hour lunch doing this. This would be a lot of fun.
It's
Yeah,
absolute
I
blast
agree.
anytime we get to chat with you guys. We'll reach out again as soon as X-Men 97 season 2 is coming out. Hopefully get to do another chat, but this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thanks for having
Thank you
us.
guys. Really appreciate it. And great to see you both again.
You as well. And
Yeah,
this will
great
be
to
up
see you.
on the Agents of Fandom YouTube page as well as wherever you get your podcasts. So smash the like button, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Thank you all for joining us. Stream Daredevil Born Again on Disney Plus. New episodes every Tuesday night, and we will be live breaking them down immediately when they conclude each and every week. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. Thank you to the Newton brothers on behalf of myself and Sean. We'll see you next time, everybody. Peace.